That's why our founding fathers did not set up our republic to be a pure democracy. They don't want stupid morons who haven't done shit in their life to be voting. All this movement that the left uses, like on Instagram and Facebook, and go out and vote. No, don't vote, you fucking idiot. Don't vote. You are stupid. You are a degenerate piece of scum. Your existence is menial.
This guy seems to like really hate the left. That's bizarre, right? He got famous for this clip. This went viral because it's just grotesque and evil and wrong. Like, holy Christ on a cracker, bro. Well, believe it or not, it gets worse. I would venture to say that it gets worse. Yeah, I say it's worse. This is Elijah Schaefer, by the by. If you don't know him, he's a famous right-wing commentator, and he was on The Blaze for a while. So Glenn Beck used to be on Fox News as one of the anchors or whatever, and he was like primetime slot. You know, he was like Tucker Carlson or Bill O'Reilly or whatever. Like, he's really, really high up there, Glenn Beck was. But they fired him, as they did with Bill O'Reilly and they did with Tucker, and they'll probably eventually do with Jesse Waters. Anyway, when Glenn Beck was fired, he started he started his own thing. It's called The Blaze. And he gets hosts on to talk about various issues. Now, Elijah Schaefer was on The Blaze for a while. No longer. He was fired from The Blaze. No idea why exactly. He said, this right here, this is his common thing. Like what we just listened to, that's what he did all the time on The Blaze. So it wasn't that. It wasn't the swearing. It wasn't the... Racism isn't even the right term to describe what this guy is. It's not the white nationalism, borderline Nazi ideas, just very, very close, if not full-blown Nazi ideas. It's not that was the problem. I suspect the reason that he was fired, I don't know for a fact, but I think Herschel Walker ran for Senate back in 2020 or 2022, I think, in Georgia. He ran against Raphael Warnock and he lost. His son is a conservative, and he's also really big on TikTok. Herschel Walker's son, Chris Walker, I think? It's Christian Walker, yeah. He's a far-right nutcase in his own right. He says some real wild stuff. Christian Walker does. Oh, my God. Christian Walker, by the way, he's gay. Christian Walker is gay. Pretty open about it, but he's also, like, very anti-gay because he's a far-right nutcase, and he says things like this.
Rainbow cult? You want to sleep with whoever? Then you do it on your own time and leave everybody else alone.
The rainbow cult. He's calling, like, LGBT people the rainbow cult and saying, if you want to sleep with others, do it on your own time.
And then people love to go in my face, oh, how do you not identify with BLM and the rainbow cult? Because you're this, that, you're this, that. Because that's not my identity. My identity is my good characters, my skill set. I would never
my good character, he says. Well, you're kind of stretching the word good there a little bit, aren't you? Matter of fact, it seems like the exact opposite of reality, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that Christian Walker, Herschel Walker's son, is a public influencer on TikTok. Pretty big. Very, very famous. And is invited to a lot of events like CPAC and, conservative events like that. And Christian Walker claimed that Elijah Schaefer, right here on the right, the dude that was screaming about people
who haven't done shit in their life to be voting. All this movement that the left uses, like on Instagram and Facebook, and go out and vote. No, don't vote, you fucking idiot. Don't vote. You are stupid. You are a degenerate piece of scum.
Wow. Jesus Christ on a cracker, bro. Anyway, Christian Walker claimed that this guy, Elijah Schaefer, hooked up with one of his gay male friends at this conference. And suddenly, and seemingly out of nowhere, Elijah Schaefer is fired from The Blaze. No explanation why, no nothing. Just goodbye. Draw your own conclusions. I don't know. Maybe they were unconnected. You know what? Maybe Glenn Beck just didn't like Elijah Schaefer. Maybe there was some internal drama. And his contract is coming up to, be renewed. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't like the guy. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he slept with a dude at a conservative conference, one of Christian Walker's close friends, and got caught. For the record, Christian Walker was very graphic in describing what he did with his friend. He said he slept with him multiple times that night and all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. Quick note before we continue, I want to let you know I just wrote a book. If you want to check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. It's a book about my experiences within Jehovah's Witnesses. It's completely understandable if you know nothing about Jehovah's Witnesses. And if you're a Christian, it's a good reference to use for why Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong about their interpretation of the Bible. The last chapter of the book is 100 questions that I have for the governing body. I'm selling the last chapter separately as its own separate guide if you guys want to get that too. So check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. I'd appreciate that. Anyway, now you know who Christian Walker is and you know who Elijah Schaefer is a little bit. Let me lay down some stuff that he said recently. This is from late March 2024 is when these videos, the set of 2 videos came out.
When people tell me, like, you share racist stuff, how is that in line with Jesus? You go, well, Jesus is the Son of God.
Okay, so right out the gate, what this guy just said, he's going to justify being racist. He says, you share racist stuff. How do you justify that in being Christian? And right out the gate, he's going to explain to us how you should be racist if you're a Christian. Okay, go on. I'm listening. You have my attention.
When people tell me, like, you share racist stuff, how is that in line with Jesus? You go, well, Jesus is the Son of God, but he also is God. Trinitarian.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with racism, and the Trinity didn't come along until way, way later. That was like a Catholic thing. Jesus didn't believe that he was God. Jesus did not believe that he and the Holy Spirit and God were one or any of that other junk. Jesus didn't believe in the Trinity, nor did he believe in hell. So take that for what you will. This is false doctrine that he's talking about. But okay, go on. You're telling us why Jesus would want you to be racist, okay?
Trinitarianly speaking. So there were moments where God literally punished the king, Saul being one of them, for literally refusing to wipe out entire nations. And to this day, because of the refusal to...
What? Okay, King Saul came before King David in the biblical narrative and was after David. He didn't like David as a young boy. David, killed Goliath, 9-foot tall guy, had a little sling and a rock and all that and killed him. You know the story. But Saul was in charge at that point. He was king. And the courtiers eventually came along and killed Saul. And David had fled to the south, to Judea, what was Judah at the time. It was like an offshoot of Israel, its own province. Well, David had built up a band of merry men, if you will, kind of like Robin Hood or whatever. And if the biblical narrative is to be believed, it kind of seems to me that it's like hinting that maybe David arranged for Saul to be killed as the king. Then David comes in with his band of merry men and takes the crown and has the courtiers executed who had any part in the plot to kill King Saul. Wow, that is some ice cold right there. Anyway, Saul, David, Solomon, King David's son, they were all pretty brutal. Yes, they were also married to like 700 different wives, concubines, and the whole nine. And apparently in God's good graces. So go on. What about Saul killing people? Quick interjection. This won't take long. If you like what I do, I'd appreciate it if you watch the video to the end. YouTube bases video reach off of watch time, so watching even an extra minute makes the video go further. Liking and subscribing goes a long way too. Finally, it would be awesome if you guys checked out my Patreon. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video.
Saul being one of them, for literally refusing to wipe out entire nations. And to this day, because of the refusal to wipe out Amalek, they still have problems.
The refusal to wipe out Amalek. Because of the refusal to wipe out Amalek, they still have problems. We're going to talk about who Amalek is in a second. Keep listening.
With the Amalekites down the road today.
Amalekites. He's saying that Amalekites exist today because we didn't kill Amalek. Oh my God, dude.
With the Amalekites down the road today, we still have Arab issues because of the Hittites, some of the other groups that even you go back even further, that they refused, that they had bashes within their offspring. So God literally was trying to.
Okay, so this is supposed to be an explanation of why it's okay to be racist in Jesus' eyes, and he's just telling us that we should have killed Arabs and killed genocided all of the distinct ethnic groups in the area around Israel that were not Jewish. Holy Christ on a cracker, bro. That's nuts. By the way, Amalekites and Amalek, I think Amalek was the son of Esau. If you don't know the biblical narrative, 15-second primer. Before King Saul came along, before King David or Solomon or any of that junk, you had Jacob and you had his brother Esau. Jacob was not set to inherit anything because he was the youngest son. And Esau was the older son. He was a more responsible son. He was more favored by the father, Abraham. I think that's who it was. I'm sorry if I'm getting this story wrong. I'm trying. Bottom line is Jacob basically, the father couldn't see very well. He's losing his vision in his last days. And Jacob put on a disguise to make himself look like Esau so that he could receive receive Esau's blessing and get all of his stuff, all his inheritance and everything, get it all from the father. And it worked. He got it all. And Esau kind of got shafted on that one. Anyway, here's where the Amalekites come in. The Amalekites were Esau's children, basically. That's my understanding. Okay. Yes, Abraham, and then Isaac, and then Esau/Jacob. And Jacob eventually became Israel. Yeah, so that's the, I'm getting the information from Kootmaster, my resident Talmud expert or whatever. Abraham was the patriarch, and he had Isaac and Ishmael, those two children. According to Jews and Christians, Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac on an altar, but God gave him a goat instead. It was a test. Abraham wasn't really supposed to kill him. Decided not to, so that's lucky. According to Muslims, though, it was Ishmael. Ishmael was sacrificed, or was going to be sacrificed by Abraham instead. And their whole lineage, according to Muslims, came from Ishmael, which is Isaac's brother. I mean, this information is so old, and there's really no evidence for any of it. There's some very fleeting evidence, very light evidence that David was a real person, maybe. But that's pretty much it. That's all we can say about the guy, that he was real and that he was like the leader of a house. Anyway, so we're just going off biblical narrative and Muslim narrative right now. Just the stories, the lore. So Abraham has Ishmael and Isaac, and that's eventually the Muslim and Jewish split. And then Isaac has Esau and Jacob. Jacob steals the blessing from Esau, and he also comes across an angel and wrestles the angel for a blessing for 3 days or something. I don't remember what the story is, but he wrestles an angel, and the angel finally gives Jacob a blessing, and the blessing is he will be known as Israel or something. His name will become Israel, and he became the father of the Israelites. The Old Testament does not really paint Jacob in a good light. It's kind of weird that they'd paint their patriarch Jacob or Israel in such a weird negative light, right? He screwed Esau out of his inheritance, and then he wrestled an angel for a blessing until he got one. Wow, okay. Anyway, he was father to the tribes of Israel. By the way, it turns out there are more than 12. You hear about the 12 tribes of Israel. There are a ton of different tribes mentioned in the Bible alone, and extra biblical sources gives evidence that there were more than 12. From my understanding, scholarly perspective is that they were not related to each other. They were just tribes of people that lived in the area who followed the same religion. Where were we going with this? I'm trying to remember. Right, Amalek and the Amalekites, they were the offspring of Esau. Now, what did Esau do? Absolutely nothing. Dude was innocent, okay? he was actually, according to the Bible, a good guy. But, Jacob is the patriarch. He takes everything over. He stole the blessing from the angel and from his dad. So go f*** yourself, Esau. That's this guy, Elijah Schaefer's justification for hating Esau and or the Amalekites. And I get, the way that he's framing it up, it sounds like he's saying the Amalekites are black people or they're Arabs. I can't tell what his theological belief is just based off of this one video here.
Moments where God literally punished the king, Saul being one of them, for literally refusing to wipe out entire nations. And to this day, because of the refusal to wipe out Amalek, they still...
to wipe out Esau's family.
Amalek, they still have problems.
To this day, they still have problems. I guess the Amalekites are supposed to be Arabs. Is that right? But Arabs claim to be from the tribe of Ishmael. Anyway, the whole thing is made up. It's just like all these people lived in this area and they all they all had a similar religion, similar religious beliefs. Early Jews were not monotheistic. That didn't come until later. They believed in the Canaanite gods, just like, everyone else in the area did. The Canaanite gods of Baal and Molech, I think, and Asherah, and, so on and so forth. Those that I listed are mentioned in the Bible, by the way, by name. I go through a lot of this in my book if you want to learn more about it. owenmorgan.com/book. You can find it there. Anyway, so I guess that this guy is giving us justification to kill the Amalekites, and I think that he believes that the Amalekites are modern-day Arabs. Is that right?
And to this day, because of the refusal to wipe out Amalek, they still have problems with the Amalekites down the road today. We still have Arab issues because of the Hittites, some of the other groups that even you go back even further.
Arab issues, he says. Interesting way to frame it. Hittites, again, just like another ethnic group that lived in the area. And this guy is complaining that they were not genocided? Like what?
Of the Hittites, some of the other groups that even you go back even further, that they refused, that they had bashes within their offspring. So God literally was trying to prevent future problems by bringing judgment that seemed cruel.
Wow. So here's his defense. The whole point of this video was, people ask me why I'm racist, why I'm openly racist. Well, Jesus wants me to be. Now let me tell you why. That was the framing of the video, right? And his explanation seemed to be because God ordered the genocide of people in the Old Testament at various points, and the people to whom the order was given, like Saul or whoever, were too weak to carry out these orders of genocide. And if they had just done it at the time, then we wouldn't have Arabs today. We wouldn't have black people today, and the world would be fantastic. That seems to be what the guy's saying, right? So I guess that Elijah Schaefer seems to believe that there's a moral responsibility to kill Arabs. Am I reading this correctly? I mean, this may seem like a little bit of a stretch to you if you don't know this guy, but let me just play one clip for you. If you've never heard of him, let me just listen to this one. If you don't yet quite believe that that's what he meant, that he's not like a white nationalist, just listen to this.
This is the most racist thing I'll say all podcast.
Oh my God.
People think that Australia is great because it's an all-white country, and it's just that's the only reason why it's good. And you can say that that's white supremacist. No, it's a homogenous group of people with less population than there is in California and a landmass bigger than the United States. They get along, they don't commit crime, they're clean, and they have a common group.
So he's saying that Australia runs really well because they're all white and they don't have any indigenous people there. Well, that's simply wrong. There's a group of people there that's lived there for 50,000 years. I mean, humans have been evolved as modern day humans for, 100,000 to 200,000 years, somewhere in that vicinity. We could go back 150,000 years, pluck somebody out of history and put them in today's schools. They'd probably perform basically exactly the same as anybody else does today. Anyway, 50,000 years ago, there were groups of people who made it to Australia and lived there, and they have a whole culture and life and everything. I don't remember the name, and I'm not, this might be considered the wrong term for the group. I'm not sure. If it is, I'll have it removed. But in Australia, I believe they're called Aboriginals. Please tell me if that's correct in the chat. In New Zealand, for example, it's the Maori. Maori are the native people in the area, and there's a lot of conflict between, indigenous groups and white colonizing groups, basically, in both New Zealand and Australia. The point here is that Australia is not homogenous and all white the way he's framed. Like, what? And even if it was, so?
A common group. Multiculturalism is gay. It sucks. It's stupid. It doesn't work. It never has worked. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. But
multiculturalism doesn't work. So only white people should exist, apparently, in certain areas. We should send all black people somewhere else. We should live in a different country. Send them to Canada, send them to Mexico, to Africa, whatever. Get them out of the country because the United States is for white people who are Christians. Okay.
They have a country, it's homogenous. Everyone thinks because it's a monoculture that it's like this really balanced society that's like it's just not violent, it's not trash, and everyone's wealthy. It's actually true, but their politics are
the point is that the guy is about as racist as it gets. Like, I don't know how you can watch any of what you've just listened to and not view this guy as like the most racist person. God, how do I frame it? I guess I'd say the largest racist person around, like the most famous racist person around outside of like KKK members. The most famous political commentator who is the most racist simultaneously. Hard to beat David Duke, but I think this guy did it. I don't know. Maybe they're on the same level. It is a common term to those I have talked to in Australia. They do not seem to say it as derogatory. Okay, yeah, I just thought it was a term. It's mentioned in a movie called Quincy Down, Australia, them being genocided. Yeah, and apparently Aboriginals is not a word. I guess Aborigine. Aborigine is the correct name, and it's not offensive. It's just like the name of a group, Aborigine, apparently. Anyway, just listen to this clip. This is a continuation of like the other one that we were watching a minute ago. Just, no more lead up. Just listen.
They want people to think that Judaism is the Old Testament. There was the...
By the way, who's they? He said they like multiple times already, and we're only like 3 seconds in. You count how many versions of the word they we have in this video.
They want people to think that Judaism is the Old Testament. There was the 400 years of silence, right, at the end of the minor prophets. And then they just somehow don't care about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And the only difference between Christianity and Judaism is our belief in Jesus. Not realizing that Talmudic Judaism is closer to witchcraft, in my opinion, New Age mysticism, especially Kabbalah and different, other things that these people believe.
That these people, that counts as a version of they, right? Kind of. So that's 4 so far. Started talking about Judaism and stuff. Let me just lay this out for you, okay? I am deeply in favor of Jewish people. I stand with Jews all the way. I've got so many Jewish neighbors here. It's ridiculous in New York City. Half the people that I know or meet on the street are Jewish, and I stand with them. And I'm also disgusted and horrified by what Israel, the country of Israel, is doing to Palestinians who didn't deserve it, Palestinian civilians who were innocent. I'm horrified and disgusted by the fact that Israel is using the Jewish name to commit genocide against a group of people right now, in my opinion. And I know a lot of Jews who are also disgusted by that. The Israeli government has put a lot of time and effort and propaganda into convincing people around them that Israeli and Jewish are synonymous. That's not true. Okay, the Israeli government is its own government. Yes, a lot of them are Jewish, and a lot of them are also extreme. But you are not bound to support Israel if you're Jewish. Anyway, it's weird because I support Jews to the death. I would fight for Jews. In fact, I'd fight for Arabs. I'd fight for anybody who is having a problem, who is being attacked or mistreated in any way. I don't stand for that at all, ever, under any circumstances. This guy seems to hate Jews. It's like it wrapped around. Like, a lot of people don't like Jews or don't like Israel because of what's happening in Palestine right now. And then you've got closer to the center, or you've got like, the right, who are in favor of Israel controlling the area because it's part of the prophecy that it must exist before the end can come. It can't come otherwise. It's part of the prophecy, whatever. Anyway, if you go far enough right, you end up where Elijah Schaefer is right now, which is Jews control everything. They control the media, Hollywood, and they control the economy and the banks and blah, 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 blah. I guess that's where this guy ended up. Now, regarding what his comments about Kabbalah, I think that's how it's pronounced. Some people know it as Kabbalah.
Not realizing that Talmudic Judaism is closer to witchcraft, in my opinion, New Age mysticism, especially Kabbalah. And
okay, Kabbalah is from us. I could be wrong. Any Jews in the comments, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, and I'll look out for it, and I'll pin the comment if I can find it. I believe that Kabbalah, as a lot of people know it, Kabbalah, is from one book called Zohar, I think. And it was written, honestly, to my knowledge, I don't think Kabbalah, I'm just going to use that pronunciation because it's super common. I don't think Kabbalah was very popular or common. I don't think that it was written down anywhere for a very, very long time. Eventually, when it was just like a tradition. It was like, kind of a Jewish, it was like a group of Jewish people who practiced in a certain specific way. And it's like a method of meditation. It's just like you close your eyes, and it's a certain way of meditating on information or on God or on whatever. That's it. But since, the Kabbalists have largely died out, they started writing down some of the stuff about how to practice Kabbalah, meditation. Okay, simply meditation techniques, that's it. But they made really wild claims in the book of Zohar, in the Jewish holy scriptures. Like, if you could harness the power of Kabbalah, then you could move things with your mind and all kinds of other crazy things. And the last Kabbalistic master died out, like the last person to master Kabbalah died like, I don't know, thousands of years ago or something, long before the book was written. It's just like old religious claims, basically. But it is a method of meditation, and it is not practiced by every Jewish person, but it is commonly found in, I think, the Jewish holy book. The Talmud, I believe is what it's called. I could be wrong here, so again, somebody's going to fact check me on this, and if it's correct, it stays in the video. If it's wrong, it'll be taken out. So if you're listening to this, it's correct. All right. Back in Jesus' day, there were Pharisees. I'm sure you guys probably remember hearing about scribes and Pharisees. Scribes are basically people who knew how to copy things or write things down. They were like librarians, or they kept the law. They interpreted the law. Judges sometimes. Well, Pharisees are modern-day Jews. That's what Pharisees are. They believed that when Moses came down from the mountain, not only did he come down with the commandments, but there were like an oral set of commandments that he instructed them to follow, that God gave to Moses. And they never wrote them down because, Moses didn't, so why would they? Like, maybe God didn't want them written down for some reason. It was basically just like a cultural thing, like how to do this or that or whatever. By the way, Pharisee is also known as Rabbinic Judaism. Well, anyway, after the destruction of the Second Temple, I think in the year 70 CE, about 35, 40 years after Jesus died. Yeah, 70. The Rabbinic Jews, the ones who believed that there was this oral tradition that was being passed down, they decided, okay, we got to write this down, because we don't know if, we're going to be killed. We don't know if it'll be preserved or what. So they wrote it down. Wrote down all of the cultural expectations and beliefs and ideals and everything. It was all written down. I think, 400 years later or something? That was the Jerusalem Talmud. And then there's a Babylonian Talmud, maybe? I don't remember exactly. There's another Talmud that was written somewhere around 400 years later that's a lot clearer and, has extra information and things like that, and was written by somebody who was much more skilled at, writing things down and translating and stuff like that. So the newer one from 400 years later, that one is commonly used because it seems to be superior. Zohar is included in the holy books as a collection, and Zohar is what talks about Kabbalah. Yeah. Kabbalah is there's nothing mystical or special or whatever about Kabbalah. It's just a method of meditation, and wild claims were made about it in the book of Zohar, where it, describes how to do the meditations. You'd be able to control time and energy and space and matter and blah, 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 if you could become a Kabbalah master, basically. Like I said, once you get to a certain point in right-wing beliefs, it's like you wrap around and you suddenly hate Jews. Yeah, okay, sure, maybe Israel should exist before Jesus can come back, but Jews control everything. This one is Stu Peters talking to a Nazi. This is from early March 2024.
When the whole country is falling apart, you look at, who's leading it, and you have all these unelected Jews, and you're like, oh my God, it's all the Jews, and then I go...
Okay, I guess he's saying that he's talking about the United States. We have unelected Jews running the country in the U.S. Okay, go on.
Oh my God, it's all the Jews. And then I go on Alex Jones and I'm like, look, this is a big problem, the Jews. And then I start digging into it more. And every conversation that I have, it could be about food that's bad for you. It could be about what's being sprayed in the skies. It could be about, the dog food that you feed. And everything is Jews. It's all everything that's going wrong in every...
Bro, have you considered the possibility that maybe, God, this segment is called the most racist person on the internet or something like that. And then I play a clip from Stu Peters in the middle of it. Elijah Schaefer, boy, does he compete with Stu Peters for the position of most racist person on the internet. Anyway, if you are seeing a boogeyman around every corner, if literally everything that bad that happens in your life, included you stub your toe and you can't you start blaming this ethnic group or something, maybe reevaluate your entire life from start to finish. Okay, something went wrong somewhere along the way. Okay, continue listening to this guy explain why Jews are responsible for him stubbing his toe in the middle of the night. He's explaining it to a Nazi, by the way. Vincent James is a Nazi.
And everything is Jews. It's all everything that's going wrong in every sector of life. It's the person that's leading it happens to claim to be Jewish. And so I cognitively made the decision. I'm going to try to pull back and not have this tunnel vision. And
there you go.
So it's well, these Catholics. Oh, good.
That's the problem. You're putting people into a box. It's not like a conspiracy these Catholics are getting together to blah, 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 whatever. It's not these Jews are getting together to do this thing or that thing. Why are you putting people into categories like this, bro? This is not helpful. So he finds something that Catholics are to blame for, okay?
Well, these Catholics. Oh, good. The Catholics are finally, behind something. These fake Catholics are ruining our country.
Oh, they're fake Catholics. If they're doing something bad, then they're fakes. Okay, go on.
All of this immigration stuff, and guess who's funding the fake Catholics? The Jews.
Get help, Stu, okay? This is Stu Peters and Vincent James. Get help, guys, for real. When you start seeing boogeymen around every corner the way that these people seem to, there's something very, very wrong. So anyway, Elijah Schaefer is one of those people, I guess, who, like Stu Peters, wrapped around and is now anti-Jewish and is completely out of his mind and claiming that it's witchcraft and stuff. Okay. And by the way, who is this woman that he's talking to? Also, if you notice in the corner, it says censored.tv, promo code offensive. Look, before we continue, I just want to address this. Am I offended by this? Is this offensive content? There is literally nothing that offends me, okay? I've heard some vile from people, seriously. I mean, we're listening to some pretty vile stuff right now, right? I'm not offended by this. Truthfully, you can say it if you want. You're just going to have to realize that people view you as a scumbag. If you're okay with being viewed as a scumbag, then okay. We're all good to go here. He acts like people need to stop being offended and just like accept what he says. No, I heard what you had to say. I'm not offended. You're a scumbag. See how simple that is?
Talmudic Judaism is closer to witchcraft in my opinion.
He says Talmudic Judaism is closer to witchcraft. Modern Judaism, the Pharisees.
Is closer to witchcraft, in my opinion. New Age mysticism, especially Kabbalah and different, other things that these people believe, is more close to that than it genuinely is to the actual scripture. That's my personal belief. Some would say that's destructive, but I don't see the.
I would say it's psychotic. I don't know about destructive or how it's destructive or whatever. I haven't even thought about that. Maybe it is destructive. But holy Christ, bro, this is psychotic. That's my word that I want to use here. Not offensive, not destructive, psychotic. Get help. And this woman just completely stone-faced, like staring him down, agreeing seemingly with what he's saying.
Destructive, but I don't see these as my
like nodding her head along with what he's saying.
But I don't see these as my brothers and sisters who are just missing Christ. I see them as enemies of the cross of Christ, and they prove it time and time again that maybe they work with Christians, but they take advantage of them and keep them directly weak. And again, this is our Holy Week, by the way. This is Palm Sunday to Easter. The right-wing media has Christians defending or fighting anti-Semitism and trying to police who can say Christ is king.
Wow, dude. Holy Christ on a cracker. Like, anti-Semitism is actually a really, really big problem in society. Like, it's bad. People don't even realize. I don't even fully realize because I'm not Jewish, but I see it in droves. Like, it's all over the place. But aside from the fact that anti-Semitism is all over the place,
to police who can say Christ is king.
That bit right there about Christ is king, that is actually an anti-Semitic dog whistle. In all seriousness, I'm not even joking. I don't know if it was started by Nick Fuentes or if he just picked it up or what, but Fuentes is a Nazi, full-blown Nazi, hates Jews, thought Hitler didn't go far enough, wishes Hitler was alive today so that he could finish the job or whatever. I mean, really, Nazi. I'm not just, like, saying that because I'm on the left or whatever. Like, no, he's a Nazi. Nick Fuentes uses the term Christ is king in a lot of his speeches, and it's kind of a dog whistle to Jews killed Jesus, you screwed up, and it's your fault. And he couldn't finish what he came here to do. Now he has to come again. And he's the king, and you're an idiot, and I hope you die. Basically, that's the idea behind the saying. I mean, people can say Jesus is Lord, and nobody cares. Sure, okay, yeah, you believe that Jesus is Lord. Fine. All right. Well, Jews disagree with you, but people can disagree with each other in a civilized society, right? That's not the same as Christ is king. Jesus is Lord and Christ is king fundamentally have the same meaning, but Christ is king isn't actually an anti-Semitic dog whistle. I'll show you what I mean in a second.
Christ is king. This is a universally terrible thing to be doing and shows a mask-off moment to me that, like, these people do not care about your Holy Week. They should shut the hell up for, like, a week. Let us practice our faith and step away, and don't tell me what to do or to say.
Is somebody telling him what to do or say? Who the hell is telling him what to do or say? I'm just lost. Anyway, boy, is this guy mad, and I'm grasping at straws, trying to understand like what the hell he's mad over. God, let me just show you a couple of really, really top tier clips. I don't know how else to say it. Top tier stuff from Elijah Schaefer. This is when he was still on the Blaze. You can see the Blaze's little logo in the bottom right corner here. Oh, before talking about this, let me mention I'm actually Native American. A lot of people don't know that about me because I don't talk about it very much. I'm white passing, so it doesn't really affect my life very much. But according to my birth certificate, I am 1/2 Native American. It's Much less than that, actually. That was a mistake on the birth certificate, but I am Native American. In fact, I even belong to a tribe. Or I could. My family belongs to a tribe. I could join because I have a grandmother and a mother that both belong to the Mohegan tribe in Connecticut. So it'd be a simple matter of just signing up and being considered part of it. All right, with that context in mind, listen to this clip from Elijah Schaefer. Like, I really want to drill this home, give you an idea of who this guy is, okay?
Yeah, Native Americans, get the out of America. You're on stolen land that you stole. And you want to know why Manifest Destiny happened? Do you know why we took it back? Because we couldn't live with you on the land because you guys kept declaring war on us and kept declaring war and trying to take back land that we already traded and or bought from you.
I mean, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Trail of Tears, there was like a full-blown Native American genocide that took place. Like on par with the Armenian genocide in the early 1900s and, Rwandan genocide in 93. I mean, you shouldn't be comparing genocides or you shouldn't be comparing suffering like this, but there was definitely a genocide of Native Americans in the United States, for sure. Absolutely, and beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I guess this guy is like denying that?
Declaring war on us and kept declaring war and trying to take back land that we...
And he's blaming Native Americans for a civil unrest and problems between white colonizers and the natives, okay?
Land that we already traded and or bought from you, and you did not understand property rights because you were savages, and that's why you got the name that you did. Unfortunately for you, that's what happened. Yeah. So you know what? It's just true.
Again, like in the background of this guy's, like I said, I'm Native American and could belong to a tribe if I wanted. In the background, you'll see it says slightly offensive with Elijah Schaefer. I'm not offended. This doesn't offend me at all, honestly. I just think you're a scumbag. It's like he's trying to intentionally be offensive to what? Like, what's the point? Why is he doing it? To, like, numb people to offensiveness? I don't know what the point is. Like, I'm not offended. I just think you're a piece of garbage. That's all. I guess he's saying that the Native Americans who were in the United States deserved to be genocided. It seems like that was the point of the clip. Now, we're about to come to the end of this segment on the most racist person. I got to figure out how to title this. The most racist public figure on the internet, or the most racist political commentator on the internet, we'll say. Maybe that's more apt. I'm not sure. He's competing hard with Stu Peters, man. But this is the intro that we listened to originally. Listen to the whole clip, the rest of it. The context behind this clip, by the way, came out November 15th, 2022. It was like right after Katie Hobbs won the gubernatorial race, the governorship, against Kari Lake for Arizona. So Katie Hobbs is a Democrat. Kari Lake is a right-wing nutcase. And Kari Lake lost, okay? So Elijah Schaefer is about to just lose his mind over it.
Katie Hobbs is the projected winner. The race has been called by multiple sources as being completed. And the reason why it's been called,
you can hear in his voice, he's getting worked up. He's about to get pissed.
Is exactly what we've expected. And what Mark was saying was the fact that the races will always be called for the Democrat candidate when they've collected enough votes to win. And
no, knock me over with a feather. You're trying to tell me that when votes are counted and tallied up and it's like determined who the winner is, the most popular person takes the governorship? Wow, this is the first time hearing of it. I'm glad I have Elijah Schaefer here to fill me in on how politics works. That's great. Thank you, Elijah.
Votes to win. And in many of these states, there are theoretically more Democrat voters than Republicans. That's
really? You think? There are what does theoretically mean? No, there are more Democrats in the United States than Republicans by like a mile. The only reason Republicans ever win anything is because we live in a system that was kind of created to give landmass more of a more sway than human beings. People that live in cities don't always own property. They don't always have like a ton of money. They don't always have this or that, whatever. But people who are in rural areas, they probably own farms. That's property, property right. If you owned property, you were allowed to vote back in the day. The Electoral College, the representative democracy that we live under, was built to give the minority rich the ability to control and sway the system. And it's working as it was built. So here we are.
Are theoretically more Democrat voters than Republicans. That's why our founding fathers did not set up our republic to be a pure democracy.
Not a pure democracy. No, I guess it's not purely a democracy. It's a representative democracy.
They don't want stupid morons who haven't done in their life to be voting.
The founding fathers, maybe the founding fathers didn't want non-landowners to vote. They didn't want women to vote. They didn't want black people to vote. They only wanted like white men who owned land to vote. The elites. I don't own any land. Do you own land? I wouldn't be allowed to vote in that, in that world. But democracy has evolved a lot since then, and it's become something brand new. Well, not brand new, but it's become something different than it used to be. Democracy works the best when there are more people in the system participating. The more people involved, the better it works. And this guy is decrying. He's complaining about democracy right now, right? Saying that we shouldn't be using democracy, I guess.
All this movement that the left uses, on Instagram and Facebook, and go out and vote. No, don't vote, you fucking idiot. Don't vote. You are stupid. You are a degenerate piece of scum. Your existence.
That's me, I guess. I am who he's referring to here. The dude literally just referred to Native Americans as savages who were too fucking stupid to understand property rights. And he says that
piece of scum.
He said, I'm the piece of scum here, is what he said. Okay, go on.
You're a piece of scum. Your existence is menial. In fact, God loves you. Most of us don't. Your own family doesn't support you very much because you're intolerable.
Dude, he has this bizarre stereotype of somebody on the left, and he seems to think that everybody on the left is like this.
Your views are not well thought out. It's not your SSRIs and your depression, your mental illness that is making you miserable. It's
I'm not taking any of that stuff. What is he even talking about?
The fact that you don't live for anything, you stand for nothing, so everything gives you value. And you watch TikTok as a hobby. So your life...
Yeah, you don't want to watch TikTok, right? That's wrong. Ooh, boy. Watch TikTok and your whole life falls apart, apparently.
Hobby. So your life doesn't exist in any real substance. So no, you shouldn't vote.
Jesus Christ, dude. This guy has real deep problems. Again, I think I've made my point, right? I think I've made the point that this is probably the most racist public figure on the internet. Damn near it. He's close. But and we've hit non-whites, right? We've hit Native Americans specifically, and we've hit who else did we hit? Anybody on the left? I guess anyone to the left of hunting the homeless for sport. We've hit Jews, right? Forgot about that one. Dude doesn't like Jews either, and believe it or not, Elijah Schaefer did a bit about women too. Surprised?
The saying behind every good man is an even greater woman. I don't like that phrase. Yeah, I don't like that phrase. I think that's dumb. Behind every man is a strong woman that he leads as she takes care of his household, as she looks after his family, as she helps him to add value to the family, right? So he can focus on his work. But this idea that somehow...
By the way, you see the little Blaze icon in the corner, right? I don't know. My watermark might be covering it up. He was on the Blaze when this came out. This is not the thing that he was removed from the Blaze over. He also said all that stuff about Native Americans on The Blaze. That was from The Blaze set. They didn't care what he said. It wasn't until the allegations that he might have, hooked up with another dude. Not until those came out that they decided not to renew the contract, or they canceled the contract. I don't know.
Men don't have the capability to solve the issues. Guys, we caused these problems. We literally made the issues. You can blame it on women. We're the ones who gave them the right to vote. We're the ones who let them get into power. And
Roe
the
v.
fact
Wade
that
voted in by men.
Yeah, it was all Roe v. Wade was voted in by men, and then women, they did help take it apart, but it was catalyzed by Clarence Thomas, who was a man. And so the fact that we've gotten to a point in the world where they're saying,
so he's saying men are better, and we need to remove women's ability to vote. Ideally, in an ideal world, women wouldn't vote in his mind, I guess. Apparently, neither would Jews or Native Americans or, hell, anybody that's not white. Anyone who's not a white landowning male, I guess. Jesus Christ, dude.
Got into a point in the world where they're saying, well, now we need to just give up, men need to shut up, they need to step back, and they need to just let women figure things out. Women can't even get along with each other. They can't even figure out their friendships. They're not going to figure out the country. Even there's plenty of lovely women out there who are strong leaders, who are bold, who have filled positions that men have given up, that men have chosen not to lead in. When women lead, it's a sign of a curse on a country, because if men are strong and they're leading the country well, women do not feel the need to lead.
Yeah, a woman is only as strong.
Dude, look at this guy's hat. I didn't know that they made hats this tall. This has got to be like a 10-inch hat or something.
Her husband.
Right, and that's
if a woman isn't is strong, or if she's a or whatever she's doing, it's because her husband isn't leading her properly.
What? If a woman isn't strong or she's a bitch or something, it's because her husband isn't leading her properly. What about single women, I wonder? Where do they factor into the equation?
If the husband doesn't have his house in check and the wife has to step in and fulfill that role, then your house gets out of line. Why are you surprised? You're the man of God. You're the man who's supposed to take control of your house, take control of your wife. And so if, starts breaking and, the house starts getting sideways, but you've been gone or you've been doing stuff partying, can you really be surprised because you abandon your post? And you need to, your wife is your post, and you have to make sure that you're leading her and telling her what to do, because she's not the leader of the household.
No, she's not. And I know a lot of people have different kinds of relationships, right?
That's psychotic, dude. That is straight up backwards. I can't even believe that they're openly saying this stuff. It's pretty clear how they feel about it right now.
I know a lot of people have different kinds of relationships, right? You have to understand, the empowering of women was meant to weaken men. It's meant to emasculate society.
Oh, okay, I see. So you're telling me that women being given the ability to take part in the democracy that we're in, that was intended to hurt men. The only reason that was done was to hurt men. Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Hit the nail on the head.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your input on the subject. Insane. In all seriousness, let me give some real advice to Elijah Schaefer, okay? Let's get real for a second. Me being the Native American that I am.
Yeah, Native Americans, get the fuck out of America. You're on stolen land that you stole. And you want to know why Manifest Destiny happened? Do you know why we took it back? Because we couldn't live with you on the land, because you guys kept declaring war on us and kept declaring war and trying to take back land that we already traded and or bought from you. And you did not understand property rights because you were savages. And that's why you got the name that you did. Unfortunately for you, that's what happened. Yeah. So you know what? It's just true.
Okay, so with that in the back of your noggin, let me give you some advice, Elijah. Give it up. I'm not offended by literally anything you say. You are just proving to me, you're just showing me more and more every day how much of a scumbag you really are. Now, if you don't want to be viewed like that, you can turn around. You can fix that. There are people every day that come from the left, go to the right, or come from the right, go to the left, or whatever. They give up ideas and beliefs and feelings and views and adopt new ones every single day. My advice to you, Elijah, is adopt views that don't make you look like a scumbag. And on top of that, we only get one go around, okay? Enjoy it while you're here. Don't hide in the closet. Come out. Don't go to CPAC to look for dudes. Find people that you want to be with. Find a man if that's what you want to do. Live your life. One go around, okay? That's what we get. And you're wasting it. You are wasting it screaming about how Native Americans are worthless and all of that other junk. Instead of just living your life and being who you are. I'm not even going to recommend that this dude gets help at this point. I don't even think that this is like a mental problem. At this point, I'm thinking that he's just seemingly obsessed with being the biggest scumbag alive and hiding that he's gay simultaneously. That's my opinion. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. I think it's pretty clear.